I'm Gorilla Monsoon.
And I'm thankful that I'm not.
Oh, you just can't help yourself, can you, huh?
I don't help anyone.
Huh.
Unless they've got the cash.
Yeah, I'm going to help you out the door if you don't stop.
If you can fit
anyway,
through
folks,
it.
I'm going to knock you out.
Excuse me, but, is anyone going to introduce me, bro?
All right. And this is Vince Russo.
I thought it was the mailman.
Huh. Why don't you be serious?
Smells like one.
Well, what the frig, bro?
All right, enough. Folks, coming up in just a short is a podcast hosted by two guys you've never heard of and probably never will.
Monsoon knows a guy who knows a guy, if you know what I'm saying.
I get it.
Oh, will you stop? Folks, Chris and George or something, they do the Hot Tag Podcast, and here it is.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Hot Tag Wrestling Show. I'm Chris T. Francesco. George Rogers is here. George, what's going on, man?
I'm doing all right, man.
All right. We're here to talk. We have a double duty here tonight. A special treat.
Emphasis on duty.
Scooby Duty. So we are talking two shows tonight. And that is why, for some reason, Vince McMahon in 1996 on this February 12th did not have a Monday Night Raw. So the way the schedule's kind of lined up, it's pretty perfect, actually. Monday, February 12th, 1996, for Monday Nitro was the Nitro the night after WCW presented SuperBrawl. So what we are going to do is we are going to cover SuperBrawl first, and then we are going to go right into Monday Nitro the following evening. George, before we cover SuperBrawl here, what did you think of the show?
It was like a one-match card.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about the Hogan match, brother.
No, why would we ever do that? Okay, I'm excited to get into the show. So let's just kind of get things started. And here we are. So this event is taking place in St. Petersburg, Florida, February 11th, 1996. Calling the action here are Tony Schiavone, Bobby the Brain Heenan, and Dusty Rhodes. I guess no more Mongo, which is good.
Yep. Chris, I found the reason as to why there was no Monday Night Raw on February 5th, 1996.
Go ahead.
It was a Westminster Dog Show.
Oh, okay. Jeez. Wow. All right. We didn't get a Thursday, Raw Thursday?
Because I looked here, and it's because I was curious to see if that's what happened. And said the Westminster Dog Show in 96 took place on February 5th, 1996.
Okay.
So either they were preempted for the for the Westminster Dog Show, or they just didn't have a show, and it was an extremely odd coincidence.
Yeah, I'm assuming. Yeah, I think that's pretty much. I think what it is there. Okay, let's get into this pay-per-view. We get an opening video package which runs through the card for the upcoming event. I did like that aspect of these classic WCW shows, although I will say this, WCW did this, and I've been listening a lot to Tony Schiavone's podcast from like the early years, like at the beginning, from like 2017, 2018, and he and Conrad would watch these shows live, and he would comment on them throughout the show. And what he kind of said to me, not to me, I have a sneeze coming, folks, so if I hit mute, it's because I'm going to sneeze. But what really caught...
What a guy.
Yeah, see? Yeah. So what he said is something I've noticed watching Nitros or WCW pay-per-views is, boy, the commentators talk a lot during the openings of either Nitro or a pay-per-view. And Schiavone even said, he goes, man, this is just something I begged for them not to do, but this is what they wanted. We just talked too damn much. Did you kind of feel that same way too?
Yeah, it seemed like it was just like nonstop chattering.
Yeah.
Like not even like sometimes about the match or other times about Hogan. It was just
Yeah.
It was nonstop, just kind of chatter, chatter, chatter. It's like, all right, like, okay, we get it.
Yeah, I agree. That's how I felt too. Opening match here, Falls Count Anywhere is the stipulation. The Nasty Boys versus Public Enemy. Look, these two teams they're brawlers at this point of their career. The Nasty Boys are what they are. Public Enemy were pretty much a staple of WCW for a while in those Nitro beginning early Nitro days. This to me was what it was. It wasn't bad. Like, I didn't say to myself, man, I'm just going to skip to the end here, which sometimes I do. But again, this is one of those matches where, if you like brawling, you like some weapon shots in this era, then you'll probably enjoy it, because basically this is an ECW match on a WCW show, just obviously toned down a little bit. What was
They didn't do this often in WCW. Like, even when it was getting into like 98, 99, 2000, they barely did this. They didn't jump on the hardcore bandwagon until 2000. But at that point, it's like, yo, you guys are already behind. Like, ECW just got sold, and they were, and they were over as fuck. So it's like, you guys are so late to the table on this. It's unreal.
For sure. There is one silly moment I saw during this match, and that's where Sags gives Grunge a pile driver on a I think it was like a metal bin inside the ring. But then Grunge gets his foot on the rope to break up the pin. I'm thinking, wait a minute, Falls Count Anywhere. So there's there is no rope breaks. So
that and the fact that Dusty kept calling all the weapons plunder.
Oh my God.
So, he's got a bit of plunder right there. And Heenan's confused. He's like, what's plunder? Like, he said it multiple times, and each time he was getting more angry. Like, what the hell are you talking about?
What's that, a new slang for cocaine?
Like, plunder, like, to me, plunder's like, yeah, that's something that the pirates did back in those days. Not like a bin of weapons for a hardcore match. Oh, I got all my plunder with me.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, goody.
As an opening match, did you like it?
It's not my typical Johnny B. Bad opening match, but it got the crowd hot.
It definitely did. Yeah, the crowd, I thought, were at this point, man, I'll tell you what, and I'm even into 97 now. The crowds always react to Public Enemy, always. So that was something to me. That was something I began paying attention to. Mean Gene Okerlund is backstage where he hypes the hotline. That's 1-900-909-9900. Did anyone ever actually bother calling that number? Like, did you ever call that number, George?
I was barely allowed to use the phone to call friends who lived in the same town. You think my parents were going to let me dial a hotline that was going to cost them money? You're right,
bro. I can't even imagine what my dad would do to me if he got a bill and he saw a hotline that was $1.99 a minute, and I'm sitting here, listening to Mean Gene just basically read the Observer to me.
Yeah. It's funny because Gene Sullivan's like, oh, there are two top WWE superstars who are going to come over to WCW, and I'm like that's great foreshadowing, but they don't know that they're leaving yet. But good. I mean, that's great if you want to use that for your headcanon. Like, oh, they knew back in February. No, they did not. No, they did not.
Oh, it's so funny.
Maybe Scott did, but Kev definitely didn't, because he even says it took some convincing from Scott and from Eric to get him to go
over. Match number 2 here, WCW World Television Title. Here we go. Johnny B. Bad, first time in Dallas Page. They're not the curtain jerker, but they're the second match of the night. Dude, I like this match. I love these two together. And I thought this was really good. I mean, if I were to give a star rating, this would be like 3.5 stars. I thought this was good.
These guys have been feuding since September.
Yeah.
It's February.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it still going on? I mean, I love the match.
Yeah.
But this is like how much further can you drag this out?
I agree.
Like
I agree.
move DDP and Johnny B. Bad to somebody else. Like let
Yeah.
somebody else get a shot at the TV
Yep.
title, which the TV title is supposed to be the title that's defended on TV because you see it all the time.
Correct.
But yet we've seen it like one time total on Nitro since we've been doing this. So I don't know whose TV it's on, but not mine.
How did you like the gimmick infringement by Johnny B. Bad with a tombstone pile driver for a 3 count?
Hey, it's all right.
It's all right because
it's okay. It's okay because Mark's playing the long game.
Yeah. That's right.
We'll get him over here at WWF. I know this young collegiate athlete in Minnesota who's going to take a liking to his wife.
That's right. That's my man, Mrs. Lesnar.
Long-term storytelling.
Yep, Johnny B. Lesnar. So the winner and still television champ is Johnny B. Bad. I thought it was a really good match. I would have actually liked this as the opener, but I can't have everything, I guess. I thought the crowd really. Go ahead.
It could be your opener if you skip the first match.
That's a good point. Touche. The crowd, I thought, didn't really get into it, but I thought the actual wrestling was really good. I thought they told a decent story again with DDP obviously being preoccupied with Kimberly. I mean, who wouldn't in 1996? Yeah. And of course, giving, Johnny B. Bad a window back into the match and beating him. Kimberly doesn't really seem, that bothered that she's just became, $6 million richer. Neither does the crowd either.
Yeah.
They've seen this match so many times by now.
And nobody probably knows what the hell they're even talking about.
I know.
It's like, what do you mean? Because even I'm confused. I'm like, $6 million. I'm not watching every episode of Saturday night just so I can be caught up on storylines. Like, you're trying to push Nitro as the A show, make it look like an A show, put some feuds on there, let people get engaged so they tune back in the next week. It's a weird concept.
Very much so. Mean Gene is backstage with Harlem Heat. They have a title shot against Lex Luger and Sting coming up next. CB Ray says he's going to get revenge on Luger tonight, and Sting will be guilty by association. Booker T says he's coming for you. I'm just kidding. He doesn't say that. Booker T says the champs don't know what they've cut themselves into tonight. They don't seem too phased about wrestling the Road Warriors later on if they happen to win this. So let me ask you, George, in 1996, what did you think of Harlem Heat?
I loved Harlem Heat. I always loved Harlem Heat. Holy shit, man.
Yeah.
What wasn't to love? That badass theme song that Booker T is still using to this day, 30 years later. They were just a great athletic tag team, and they looked way different than anybody that WWF had at the time.
Yep, very much so. They were very unique, man. They were they were unlike any team at all in the world. I loved Harlem Heat. I thought their entrance was amazing. That theme song is one of my favorites ever. Just such a badass theme song. So here we go. Match number 3 for the WCW tag titles. The incumbent champs are Sting and Lex Luger versus Harlem Heat. Sting and Luger were doing a pretty fun storyline where Sting was a babyface, Luger's a heel, but they still coexisted due to being best friends. It was a surprisingly nuanced storyline by wrestling standards. Sting and Luger don't seem to be on the same page that much in the early going of the match, but they're kind of both doing their own thing. While Harlem Heat, as always, was a well-oiled machine. Pretty basic match here. Sting and Luger get the win. They retain. I just didn't like it, man. There's just no chemistry. What says you?
It's more of this weird Lex Luger booking.
Yeah.
That's just baffling. And I almost wanted to laugh when you were like, oh, it's a fun storyline. Like this whole storyline is predicated on Sting being an idiot.
Basically.
I mean, it's like you can't tell me at any point he can't go in the back and be like, hey, let me see that videotape. He's just like, no, I'm not going to believe it if you show it to me anyway. He's my best friend. He'd never do that. That's like Cap defending Bucky after he saw the video of Bucky shooting Tony Stark's parents.
Right.
He's like, nah. He was just a little confused. He had a bad crowd. them Rooskies.
That's funny.
It's so just mind blowing. It's like I don't understand any part of this They shouldn't even
Like,
be tag champs, in my opinion.
I agree, man. It's just their names, so they get the titles. This was one of those matches to me where there wasn't anything wrong with it. Obviously Stevie Ray sometimes bothers me because he's not that great of a worker, but it never really was. That's nitpicking at that point, but it wasn't really that exciting to watch. I thought it was a pretty flat atmosphere. I mean, I think the crowd at this point is so confused. Like, what do I do with Sting and Luger here?
Well,
What do I do?
The thing is, like, what's the crowd getting invested for?
Right,
Like,
exactly.
there was no build up to this match that we saw on Nitro because the whole story is Sting and Lex, like trying to coexist. Well, do that in regular tag matches and then have it build to a tag title match before you just throw the belts on them anyway. And I'm like, oh, well, now let's see if they can do it. It's like, well, I mean, I guess, but there's no real build up to these tag title matches. I don't know when Harlem Heat became the number 1 contender.
I don't know either.
And I don't know why both of these teams are fighting for a shot to face the Road Warriors.
Yeah. I nothing's ever explained. Like that's a common thing that you and I talk about every week is that nothing gets explained. So that's basically the same thing here. At the end, I'm like, you know what? I could have watched this match on Nitro. I didn't need to pay $29.95 to watch it. That's just how I feel. Dean's comments is great. Mean Gene does an interview with the tag champs in the entranceway. Luger talks around the interference in the finish, and by golly, Sting seems to be on the same page with him. Shocking.
Oh, golly gee willikers. Who'd have thunk it?
Yeah. What a hoodwink. I love that word. That's a great one.
It's the new swerve, bro.
Right. Match 4, which is beyond anything I would ever put on pay-per-view. I mean, I would have demanded a refund just for this being on the card. WCW United States title champ coming in here is Conan versus, yes, the one-man gang.
When did Conan win the U.S. title? And when the fuck did one-man gang win the U.S. title?
Dude,
I have questions. So
many questions. This was awful. I mean, this was really bad. Conan, I mean, look, I'm not a Conan guy. I know George is a Conan guy. I don't think Conan was I find Conan to be very annoying. And he botched so many times. I mean, I'm in 97 right now, and I can't take him on my screen. Like, I'm at a point where I'm like, I'd rather see Buff Bagwell than Conan. Only just so I can hear Buff's theme song. But other than that, I can't blame this one on Conan. This one,
no, you cannot.
I might dislike certain wrestlers, but I can call a spade a spade. No one could have succeeded in this situation, and I feel really bad for Conan to be put in this here.
There was no winner to this match.
No, it was lousy. I mean, if you could have negative chemistry, that would probably be where we are with this right here. But whatever. This was
also trying to figure out why one man gang is having a pay-per-view match in 1996.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes.
So
he was
actually, Sting was
he was very tanned.
He was pretty dark here. Should have put the title on him. Mean Gene continues hyping up the hotline. That's 1-900-909-9900. But make sure you have parents' permission before you call. Because if you're like me and you call, you probably won't be around the next day or when the next bill comes around. Two former WWF champions are apparently jumping to the WCW. I wonder if that was the Outsiders he was referring to. I do know the Road Warriors, they come in for some promo time. Animal says that the attack on Harlem Heat was to ensure that Sting and Luger won because they want to beat up Luger for something that happened on Nitro. And then Hulk makes some nasty threats about bodily harm to the champions. What the hell did we just watch?
They weren't known for their promos. That's why Paul Ellering was always with them.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a lot of cocaine in one promo.
First things first, it was already off to a bad start because Hawk didn't start by going, well, and then getting into his nonsense. Like if he's not starting it that way, then can you not bother even wasting my time? I've got things to do.
Next match here, and I'm gonna bring up something during this one.
Oh,
Kevin Sullivan versus Brian Pillman in a respect strap match. Boy, this would have been a good one between he and Benoit, he being Kevin Sullivan. A lot of respect there.
It got cold in here.
I just want to say that I think Kevin Sullivan is the worst in-ring worker I've ever seen. I hate him. I hate his work. He doesn't sell anything, and nothing he does looks legitimate. He's
like a Mr. Potato Head.
He really is. I mean, I don't know what it is, but I can't stand watching him. His promos were actually okay at the time because he would have been a great heel manager. But yeah.
Well, I mean, he was for Dungeon of Doom.
Yeah, but he worked a lot still. And I could not take Kevin Sullivan, man. Like what did you think of this? I felt bad that Brian Pillman is in here, who's historically obviously a really good worker, and he's in here with like this dude that honestly at this point looked like he couldn't wipe his own ass. So what's your thoughts on this one?
I have a lot of thoughts on this one.
Oh, good. Give them to me.
Not even really about the match. I mean, it was all of a minute long. And from what I could tell from a little bit with the match, it looked like Sullivan was really laying in his shit.
Yeah, he was.
Like, he looked like he was potatoing the fuck out of Pillman. And Pillman was just like, you know what? Fuck you. I'm going to end this match and then call out your nonsense and leave you sitting in the middle of the ring and looking like an idiot until Arn Anderson strolls out. Yep. It's like, it was the whole thing where it's like, oh, like you're going to potato me? All right, well, I'm going to call you out and call you the booker, and then I'm going to ruin your fucking show by walking out in the middle of the match.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah, and then Kevin Sullivan just standing in the ring, looking like a kid who dropped his ice cream cone. He's waiting for someone to come along, and then all of a sudden, out comes Arn Anderson wearing his
street clothes. Yeah,
wearing his best dad hanging out in the back dock attire on a Thursday afternoon because he left work early and had a couple road sodas.
Yeah,
like it was bad all over, and everyone involved should be ashamed for all of it. I mean, not Pillman because he wouldn't care anyway. But
yeah.
This was Sullivan to a fucking T. He's like, I'll book, but he's gonna book to his own personal vendettas and choices and shit.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting to a point here in early 96 where it's going to start getting pretty real for Kevin Sullivan walking around the WCW hallways, man. So the Booker man's about to have himself I guess you could say a work shoot career from here on out because it gets pretty wild into late 96, 97.
And it gets really wild in 2008, but 2007.
2007, yeah.
But that's neither here nor there.
That's neither here nor there.
We'll get there.
That was just a weird one to watch. You know, it mostly confused the crowd. They ended up as just, Sullivan and Arn battling a little bit. I just generally don't enjoy this type of stuff, especially on a pay-per-view. It was an angle probably for the smart fans and, probably for the locker room. You know what I mean? So and then you have the paying fans in the arena and at home are like, what the heck is going on? Because in 1996, I don't know what the hell he means by Booker, man.
No.
So, come on. We're at a time here where inside baseball, it's lost on most people at this juncture.
Yeah. Only Dave Meltzer is pulling his winner out to that. He's like, ooh, he said a term.
Yeah, he said a term. After this, though, Pillman did manage to convince Eric Bischoff to give him a real contract release following this so that they could really sell that this was a real angle. And, of course, he ended up jumping to WWF as a result.
Wasn't something where the plan was he was going to leave, go to ECW, like build himself up to be a star, and then come back to WCW? But then, like, while he was in ECW, WWF was like, hey, you want to come work for us? And he's like, all right.
Yeah.
Fucking bye. You mean I can avoid Hogan now for the rest of my career? Solid.
So yeah, Mean Gene is backstage with the Giant and Jimmy Hart. Hart says that Hulk Hogan only has one eye tonight, and that means that Hulkamania is finished. Yeah. Okay. Giant adds his own comments. Cuts a pretty decent promo for a guy who's, been in this business for less than a year at this point. What did you think of the promo? I actually thought Giant looked pretty good here.
Problem is Jimmy Hart started talking first, and I immediately lost interest.
Yeah, me too.
But I mean, Giant, big show. He had all the intensity. It's a shame he never could have promo even close to that again.
I know. Next match here, WCW Tag Team titles again. You got the champs, Sting and Lex Luger versus the Road Warriors now, Hawk and Animal. At the end here, you get to a double count out. It looked like the match might finally go somewhere, and they promptly took it home with a crappy finish, which was the complete MO for WCW. And again, just rip-offs the paying customer. Man, this show already doesn't have much goodwill, and another lousy finish just doesn't help, man. What'd you think?
This is the third questionable match in a row. Like right in the middle of the show, you had Conan and One Man Gang, Pillman and Sullivan, and that nonsense, and now this.
Yeah.
Now you're just like, now the fans are just like, all right, why did I even waste money to come here? I just saw three piles of shit in a row.
Right. It's this is a hard one. This was just hard. Mean Gene is back, and now he's with Ric Flair and Woman, who hypes up Flair's match with Savage. Woman flirts with Gene as usual, while Flair rants like a madman in the only way that he can about how he's going to win the belt and take Elizabeth home with him. This was pretty entertaining. Flair was almost giddy at the end, and he thought about taking both Woman and Liz on the Space Mountain with him. So
yeah, we would have mentioned Space Mountain one time. Then Flair looks at the camera, she's like, "Yeah," it's like I'm talking about my dick. It's like.
We get to the semi-main event here. Steel cage match, pin and submission rules for the WCW title. The champ coming in is Macho Man Randy Savage versus Ric Flair. This wasn't the best, but pretty decent, man. Ric Flair is the winner and the new WCW World Heavyweight. I think it was his 13th title reign here.
This was number 13, yeah.
This number 13. Mm-hmm. What did you think, man? I mean, you got a little bit of got a blade job.
Listen,
out of Rick on WCW television.
Hey, Flair and Mach will tell you a story, and they always have a good match together. And of course, Liz is involved again in this, and that's fine because we didn't see the turn coming. We probably should have, but we didn't. Yep. And whatever, that's on us. But it was entertaining. I mean, it wasn't the best match the two of them had together, but it was.
No, it was a convoluted finish as well.
Yeah, but it was good for what it was.
Absolutely, I agree.
Should have been the main event.
Hands down, should have been the. I wonder why it wasn't.
I wonder why. Probably didn't work for somebody.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this sadly, wasn't quite to the level of what was it, WrestleMania 8. And some of it was quite messy, but it was kind of like WCW, and it was a cage match this time, but it was still fun, for the most part. Had really good energy. And I'm thinking the finish was supposed to be Savage getting the roll up and then getting blinded by the powder into, getting hit in the head, in the face with a shoe. But maybe Woman jumped the gun. I don't know. It just didn't look. That's when I say it looked convoluted to me. It looked rushed. Either that or, he was just supposed to get powdered and the powdered miss and get thrown into a roll-up, but whatever. The crowd did look pretty shocked when Liz hooked up with Flair. I thought that was really good. I thought Flair and Savage, if they really would have spent time on this rivalry, could have been better. But, if it's not involving Hogan, it just doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And that's a shame. Hulk Hogan joins us with a chair to chase the heels off because it always has to be about him. I mean, couldn't they have just let Savage have his moment to sell the big heel turn without Hogan hanging around to siphon off the heat? Like, of course. Let's just take the heat, right? Because it's Hulk. It's Hulk. Send him out there for no reason.
Yeah, I don't know, man. You don't want to have the fans upset. I'll just go out and give them a little goose, and then they'll be hyped for the next match.
They're already pissed. They're already like, get me a refund immediately. Mean Gene is backstage with Hulk because we got to see him again before a match. Yeah. Hulk thinks Liz has been in cahoots with Flair for a while as Flair shoot him on Nitro for good measure. Hogan says, dude a bunch of times, talks about how his Hulkamaniacs will be guarding his blind side. I guess
Liz guard my blind side, dude, but she's a snake in the grass.
I guess that means, the fans will need to shout if somebody is attacking him from the blind side. Here we are, somehow the main event, another steel cage match, Escape Rules, the Giant against Hulk Hogan. This, whatever. Of course, we know who gets to win. It's not like a surprise to anyone. This, I've seen a lot of people online who didn't really like this match. I thought it was okay for the most part when you take into account probably just how green, Paul White, the Giant, is right now. But, dude, it's just, what's coming every single time Hogan is in a WCW ring. What did you think of this main event?
Like I said, it shouldn't have been the main event.
No, it shouldn't.
This is not like the match everyone's clamoring for. It's a mess. It's been a mess since the fucking jump.
I know. I agree. Just kind of getting later on, Giant gets flung into the cage a few times. You could tell he does his own attempt to do a blade job, which means, we head back to a wide shot. I'm not, against blood or anything like that. But if you're going to do it, then at least don't be, massive cowards about it and zoom out. If you've authorized a blade job, then, just show us the blood, man. Don't do the blade job and then give us rubbish camera angles for the rest of the match. Like, come on. Either do it and film it properly or just don't let guys bleed. It's that easy.
Yeah.
And it's pay-per-view. We've paid for it.
Not everyone can do everything.
Exactly.
And Big Show is one of those guys.
Right. Correct. Agreed. Kevin Sullivan attacks Hogan afterwards with a chair following the match, which leads to Hogan chasing him into the cage, the entire Dungeon of Doom, then joins us for the big heel beatdown on Hogan, only for him to then beat them all up by himself with a chair in one ridiculous moment after another. And you can understand why fans were turning on Hogan at this stage because it's just so silly that the dude is just literally unbeatable no matter how many are against the guy. It's just disgusting, dude. Then you got this 950-pound ugly homeless guy, Giant Haystacks, comes, tries to get in the cage to get Hogan, but they hold him back. And I don't even think that match even ever ended up happening.
Never happened. It never fucking happened.
Well, we all know who would have won anyway, so it doesn't matter. What was your thoughts on this show as we wrap it up here?
It was like two good matches, and everything else was so damn forgettable.
Yeah,
I mean, if not for the title change, what would anybody really remember from Super Brawl 6?
I wouldn't remember anything.
Like nothing in this pay-per-view stood out. It was just a long episode of Nitro.
Yeah. I wouldn't have remembered one thing from this match.
Except it actually featured the undercard titles.
Right. Yeah. I thought this one started out okay, but the middle portion was awful. Really lame finishes, boring matches. Flair and Savage was the highlight of the night. They picked things up, even though, obviously that match had some issues. But in comparison, not a big deal at all. The main event wasn't the worst thing I've seen, but the post-match where Hogan fought off everyone by himself is embarrassing, and it's just so infuriating. And it just once again solidifies why everybody was turning on him. I think obviously the show was a thumbs down. In my opinion, it was a massive thumbs down for me. But yeah, is that what you say too? Thumbs down.
Yeah, it's bad.
I don't recommend this show at all. Yeah.
Not even a little bit.
No. All right. So after that, let's go on to Monday Nitro the following night, February 12th, 1996. Let me update the headline here for everybody because, again, there is no Monday Night Raw here. Monday Nitro, February 12th, 1996, where the big boys play. All right, once again, we are from Tampa, Florida this time around, although this was a TNA-style free show giveaway where George Steinbrenner basically rented the Nitro show and they gave away 6,000 tickets to people at the State Fair, for those of you who did not know that. So your hosts are Eric Bischoff, Bobby the Brain Heenan, and Mongo is back here on Nitro. SuperBrawl, like we said, was the night before. Ric Flair getting back the World Heavyweight title for a 13th time from Randy Savage. Liz turned heel. Hogan defeated everybody in the arena who was a bad guy. And then, of course, very weird shit went down between Pillman and Kevin Sullivan. So let's get things right started with Randy Savage versus Hugh Morris. So this goes 4 minutes and 45 seconds, and this was shitty. Just shitty. And again, I'm at a stage now in this era where I put no blame on Macho Man Randy Savage. This company clearly, and by company, I mean Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff, have some sort of vendetta against putting over Macho Man Randy Savage in any positive way. Yeah.
I mean, it was good to see him win this match, which was a great indication, for fans who didn't watch Super Brawl to know that Macho Man did not leave with the title because he actually got a clean fucking victory.
Yeah.
Something that didn't happen the entire time he was a world champ. So there's that.
Yeah.
But it's like Hugh Morris is fucking green as grass.
Yeah.
In this match. And why is Savage facing Hugh Morris? Why isn't Savage facing a member of the Horsemen? Why isn't he facing Chris Benoit? Why isn't he facing Arn Anderson? Well, I mean, Hulk is facing Arn, but why isn't he facing Chris Benoit? Why isn't he getting his rematch against Ric Flair?
Yeah. Yep.
No. Well, we'll just put up with Hugh Morris because we're going to build this whole thing about the alliance to end Hulkamania, and we got to give Hulk a friend.
Well, listen, folks, it does get better. The next match is Loch Ness versus Scotty Riggs.
Oh boy,
poor Scotty Riggs.
Poor Tampa, Florida, who was in attendance.
Thank God it was free.
Thank God it was free, but at the same point, Steinbrenner's like, you know what, this should have just been a tax write-off because it's, oh my God, that had to be the absolute worst fucking match I have ever seen.
It's would you say Loch Ness is maybe the most historically, maybe most terrible wrestler ever?
He's fucking shit. I don't understand. We got to keep bringing in these fucking monsters into the Dungeon of Doom, but we know Hogan isn't going to fucking job to any of them.
Correct.
And what's Loch Ness going to do? Knock him down or put him in a bear hug that isn't actually going to cinch and then splash Hogan a couple times. We'll have to believe that his ribs are broken even though he isn't going to sell it.
That's right.
Fucking trash.
I know.
This is a whole match from top to bottom.
Well, thankfully it ends in a minute. whatever. Ric Flair gets wheeled out by Liz and Woman on a gurney after a wild night of partying, which just is good stuff. Flair is just really good here. Elizabeth actually gets promo time. Her character is the evil ex-wife who wants revenge on Savage. Man, talk about good motivation storytelling here. This was good stuff. I liked it a lot.
I mean, they came out with the gurney. I'm like, who is on them? I'm like, oh, it's fucking Flair. Like, and then like Flair gets off, and I'm starting looking, and Dean was over his watch. I look over at him. It's like weird. The guy on the gurney is the only person on the stage who's still alive.
Next match: Devin Storm versus Conan.
Fucking this is terrible.
Yeah, I mean, this was
dangerous Devin Storm.
Yeah, Devin Storm, who's the future Crowbar. It's tough. Again, Conan wraps him up with a leg lock as they note how impressive Conan's victory over One Man Gang was.
Yeah, how impressive.
I think it was just, made up title change, to be honest, which we've talked about. Storm randomly comes back with a springboard elbow while Bischoff is forced to backtrack on his accusations of the WWF causing the blackout last week. Storm with another sloppy dive, but they go up and Conan power bombs him off for the pin at 5 minutes and 30 seconds. Man, this was hard to watch, man. It really was.
This should have been on Saturday night. This is a Saturday night match.
Yeah.
You don't put this on the fucking A show.
I agree.
On Saturday, you're going to hype up like, oh, we have Sting versus Chris Benoit. It's like, oh, you're going to put that on Saturday?
Really, really bad. Main event, we're finally at the end of Nitro here. Hulk Hogan versus Arn Anderson. This was a squash. This was a squash for Hulk against Arn friggin' Anderson. And again, George, this goes into my problem with the booking of the Four Horsemen and the booking of Arn, which is continuously happens until he has to stop wrestling. But of course, it's coming here anyway because it's against Hulk. What did you think of this one? Because there was just so much gaga at the end of this. I'm
just beyond tired of Hogan and the Horsemen and Hogan and the Dungeon of Doom.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many times I can keep watching the same match over and over and over. It's like this week. Oh, it's Hogan and Rick, and that's like, oh, that's Hogan and Arn. Then it's Hogan and a partner against Rick and Arn, and then Kevin Sullivan comes out. And then the Giant's gonna smash Hogan, and then Zodiac is stopping him by saying no, but no one's talking about that, so we don't actually know what's going on with it. There's so much shit, and it's just like it's being forced upon these people. These people live attendance have to watch this shit. Nobody cares. Hogan's getting booed. Yeah. Like he's getting half cheers, half boos at this point. There's no way he thinks any of this is good TV.
I think what's crazy is that, he'll point to the fact of I lost on TV before. Dude, this was by far the furthest thing from a clean finish. Yes, Double A is one of the few people to get a pinfall victory in Hulk, but Hulk immediately pops up, destroys a Horseman, just so it means nothing.
Yeah.
Totally no selling the powder and the injury. This was basically Hulk squashing Arn like a bug before slipping on a banana peel. That's basically what this was. It was just, sure, we'll let the gaga happen and we'll let the world see you pin me 1, 2, 3. But then Hogan must pose at the end, brother.
Hogan has to send the fans home happy. Well, they all
except no one's happy.
They all paid their money to see the Hulkster brother. No, they fucking didn't. Because it was, first of all, this is a free show, but even on the pay shows, they're not really paying to see you. They want to see other people.
Yeah. This was rough, man. This was rough. All right, your thoughts on Monday Nitro following SuperBrawl?
Listen, I will give this a win to Raw, even though it didn't air.
Yeah.
Because this Nitro was that bad.
Mm-hmm.
It was so bad that a show that didn't air had a better weekly performance.
Yeah. It was a very, very weak back-to-back shows here on Sunday and Monday for WCW.
But the thing is, like, they know in advance that Raw isn't going to air because
it's a throwaway to them.
Because it's a throwaway, but in that aspect, you're still so early on. You could deliver a fucking banger of a Nitro and stolen the people who aren't watching Raw because there's no Raw to watch.
Exactly.
So they might have tuned over WCW and see what they're bringing to the table. And you give them Scotty Riggs versus Loch Ness. Like, no wonder. Like, it's back and forth for a while. They could have literally taken the lead and ran with it. It would have been longer than 83 weeks if they would have been number one.
I agree.
But they decided to do this throwaway horse shit to feed someone's fucking ego.
I wonder.
And they run the risk. It's their fault.
I know. It is. This is the kind of Nitro where when I was watching it, I'm thinking, man, there's no Raw. I'm prepared to watch a banger of a show. And I'm like, whoa, this is one of the worst shows I've seen since Nitro started, right? I mean, I can't think of maybe many that were worse. But yeah. All right. So thank you guys for watching. This is on YouTube, of course, as always. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and ring that bell for notifications. George, you guys have been pumping out some great content on the Multiverse Movie Podcast. What do you guys got coming up?
This week we have the classic from 1997, Men in Black. That was
one of my favorites.
That was one that we were actually going to do in the summer, but we couldn't really think of a movie to do for this week, so we just bumped it up.
Okay.
So we have something else in that spot. Next week, though, we do have Multiverse Madness coming up. Everyone's was voting on that, which will be sitcom theme songs. We're breaking down. The Field of 16 has been set. I have finished the seating, and this ain't gonna be for the week.
Looking forward to it again, guys. Check out the Multiverse Movie Podcast wherever you guys get your podcasts. But thank you guys so very much for tuning in, as always. 2 double thumbs down for WCW this week. SuperBrawl was terrible and Nitro was terrible. Let's see what they do next week when Monday Night Raw returns. So for George Rogers, I'm Chris C. Francesco, and this has been the Hot Tag Wrestling Show, and we'll catch you guys down the road. Have a great one. Bye-bye.